So, this is yet another manhwa revolving around swordsmanship and being a warrior, set around Imperial Korea and China with some seasonings of feuds. First of all, somewhere in Xinjiang's heavenly mountain, there lays a 600-year-old scroll containing a legendary secret manual by the sword immortal. A man, Soh Woonhwi, presumably a spy from the Blood Clan, the most prominent clan, found this legendary scroll after 15 days of searching and suffering by himself. As much as he wants to keep the scroll for himself, it'll be useless for him to keep the damn thing since his Dantian, the inner energy core, was destroyed, and other martial artists will try to steal it from him. Well, that won't stop him from hiding the whole scroll by swallowing the whole thing himself, a gross yet effective technique to avoid enemies touching the scroll. He kinda regrets it soon after because he forgot to bring water with him to make swallowing easier. Unfortunately, he is soon spotted by two people from Murim Alliance, one being the leader of Yellow Dragon Hall, Sir Moyong, and one being the famous elder, Baek Wihyang. One of them, Moyong, threatens him into giving the scroll in exchange for getting some of the blood parasite cleared from his body, but the man refuses to give it away easily and offers Baek Wihyang a deal, in which he will give the scroll to Baek Wihyang if they remove the blood parasite first from his chest. Moyong isn't amused with the offer as he sheathes his sword and belittles Woonhwi since Woonhwi's Dantian was destroyed and he's abandoned by the clan. It is later revealed that Soh Woonhwi was kidnapped by the Blood Clan and had the blood parasite implanted in his chest, allowing the Blood Clan to manipulate him and make him do errands for them. Moyong ruthlessly threatens him again to make Woonhwi hand over the scroll, but later Woonhwi told him that he kept the scroll in a secret place that Moyong can't find. Woonhwi later states that he doesn't expect any exception and that he just wants to be free from the blood parasite, remaining stubborn with his previous offer to remove the parasite first. Moyong gets impatient and stabs Woonhwi's chest to Woonhwi's surprise. Moyong keeps belittling Woonhwi by saying Woonhwi is destined to die by the time he became a spy. Moyong keeps attacking Woonhwi, until it is revealed that the scroll is inside Woonhwi's body. Woonhwi doesn't die, he instead is surrounded and turning into blue flames, and those make him wonder whether reincarnation exists so that he can live a better life than what he has at the moment. Woonhwi didn't die, he woke up as two men, revealed as Song Jae-wabik and Soh Woonhwi, splashed a bucket full of cold water on his head while he was sleeping. These two are known as the Henan Twin Swift Blade, the notorious Blood Clan martial masters and the Black-White Twin Demons in the previous lifetime. Woonhwi is now not only taken aback by the fact that he's still alive somehow since all that he remembers is he's burning and slashed to death, but also by the fact that the twins look younger. He then realized that he, too, looks younger now. The twins keep jokingly beating him to get some sense into him, thinking that he's drunk like a fish. But those beatings make Woonhwi thinks that this might not or might be a dream at all since the beatings feel hurt. He then forcefully asks the twin what day and year it is, and turns out the incident with Murim Alliance sent him 10 years earlier when he was younger, during the year of the dog, the 9th day of the 9th month. This then sets a new lifetime for him. Unbeknownst to them, an ambush from the blood cult is going to happen in their village soon, despite the news of them being defeated by Murim Alliance. Woonhwi then looks for the only belonging that his mum left for him, the Soh's short sword, because he regrets the time he lost it during his previous lifetime. Quickly, a scream emerges from the outside and the ambush became known to them. Woonhwi then urges the twin to escape, but let them go without him. He then hurriedly grabs someone else who was left behind during the ambush, Ah-sung. To Woonhwi, Ah-sung is like his brother. Knowing what the blood cult is looking for and how cunning they are, he leads Ah-sung into a secret exit and forces him into hiding inside one of the worst places to hide, a septic tank. He decided to hide inside a horse manger, surrounded by a pile of hay. While hiding, he touches the short sword from his mum and that revives an angry female old sword spirit who complained about his dirty hands. While he was initially skeptical of her, he finally gives in to her encouragement to stab the nearby approaching blood cult member. He then emerges and stabs the blood cult member and swears that he will do whatever it takes to survive in this lifetime. The action didn't take long to impress the short sword spirit. The sassy sword spirit converses with Woonhwi for a while and then stays vigilant with him as well. Not long after, an intermediate-level blood cult member approaches him and taunts him while making amends to end the whole business peacefully. He did notice Woonhwi's decent ability to defend himself. Woonhwi initially was doubtful of his capability to defeat him, but the sword spirit decides to help him, even though Woonhwi made some mistake to taunt the member back. The member attacks Woonhwi and then Woonhwi quickly blocks the attack. In retaliation, the member reads Woonhwi's pattern and blocks his attack too. He then tells Woonhwi that while Woonhwi has good eyes for attacking and sharp strikes, his reflexes are surely slow. While the member lets his guard down, Woonhwi strikes him back in the face. Unfortunately, the member dodged it, though he still sustains damage to his face and left eye. The combat ensues with the member strikes back at Woonhwi, and he decided to end it all by killing Woonhwi. He relentlessly attacks Woonhwi, and Woonhwi can only block all of them until the sword spirit decides to help him read all of the member's moves. Due to the member's cautiousness, it's hard to establish a strategy to easily attack him, so Woonhwi and the sword spirit decided to work together and find a better way to defeat him. They block the incoming attacks, wait for the right moment when the member becomes careless when he charges, and then strike the member in his blind spot. The strategy was proven good, especially with the damage on his left eye, although it almost fails. Woonhwi finally kills the higher-ranking member after one more attempt. Again, the combat impressed the sword spirit, which later generates gratitude from Woonhwi on her part of assisting him. Not long after, someone comes and conks Woonhwi on his head. Turns out, it's a high-ranking member of the Blood Clan, Captain O. Captain O is disappointed in the dead two members who had to face Woonhwi previously because these two, who supposedly are trained members of basic to intermediate levels, are losing to Woonhwi, who has little to no knowledge of combat. Then, we see the flashbacks of Woonhwi getting kidnapped by the Blood Cult. He was weaker than Woonhwi in the new lifetime. All that he could do during that time was to beg, not wanting to kill him, and realize that he possesses a Dantian that belongs to an orthodox clan. The Blood Cult decided to take him in and employ him as a spy. Fast forward now, Woonhwi still got captured by them in this new timeline, only that they did it after he beat two of their members. Woonhwi wants to converse with the sword spirit, but he can't, and turns out he can only do it when he has the sword, while now the Blood Cult confiscated his sword and they have his hands tied tightly. Unlike the previous timeline, the Blood Cult members are more impressed with his slaying of their dead subordinates. Some members and Captain O want him to die due to his newfound strength and suspicions on their part, while one wants him to be employed as a spy. He then has no choice but to beg to be spared alive again in this timeline. When Captain O is about to toy with his life, Woonhwi's quick thinking saves him as he recognizes an antique sword with a white leather handle that belongs to one of the 4th Blood Star, a much respected high-ranking member of the Blood Cult. Every lower-ranking member then pays their respect as the 4th Blood Star reveals himself from the crowd. It is said that members of the 4th Blood Star often disguise themselves as lowly members to supervise and see how their subordinates are doing. The 4th Blood Star member, Do Jango, approaches Woonhwi and begins to interrogate him. This gives Woonhwi a chance to make elaborate and cunning lies to save his life, as no one will probably believe his previous lifetime story. Woonhwi foolishly takes any grave risk to save his life, from attacking a skilled member to lying to a high-ranking Blood Cult member. When asked why Woonhwi knows him, he proceeds to tell how exquisite the sword's materials are. The sword handle consists of fine white leather from a precious horse Baek Wihyang and an exquisite jewel. Woonhwi then continues with the story of how his family has ties with the Blood Cult. The elaborate lie starts from his grandpa, who used to be a member of a Blood Cult, quit the cult due to some grave injury. His grandpa then found a place to settle down to raise Woonhwi's mom, who eventually has to take care of the injury and work as the Soh clan's servant. Added to that, he made up a story of how his maternal grandpa often trained him when he was younger, and reminisced about the time his grandpa works for the Blood Cult and other members like No Jamin and No Sangu. Still, Do Jango continues to play with him by asking some stuff on why he killed the two members instead of telling the members the truth about how he is connected to the Blood Cult to avoid the atrocity. He adds that had he told the other members in advance, they won't haphazardly hurt Woonhwi or even kill him. When Commander O interrupts him, Do Jango shuts the member up quickly. Woonhwi then reveals that he's scared of the punishment and apologizes for his action. At first, Woonhwi cares that the 4th Star will take his story for granted, but Do Jango then tells him that he's only joking around and decides to spare and recruits Woonhwi as a Blood Cult member. Woonhwi still ends up as a Blood Cult member, like what he did in his previous lifetime. Do Jango takes Woonhwi into the Blood Cult again and grants Woonhwi's wish. He demands his short sword back. Do Jango returns the short sword to Woonhwi, but under one condition. He breaks the tip of the short sword's blade as payment for what Woonhwi did towards 2 Blood Cult members that he killed previously. As a result, this cuts the short sword spirit's hair short, and it makes her fussy and cranky towards the Blood Cult, especially Do Jango. Despite accepting Woonhwi, Do Jango still has trust issues with him due to Woonhwi acting like a trained spy. Thus, he asks Captain O and his accomplices to look into Woonhwi's maternal lineage. The latter then complies. After the whole ordeal, Woonhwi takes shelter somewhere and fills in a bit of his background to the short sword spirit. This, in turn, makes the sword spirit realize that he's not as dumb as she thought previously, and takes a bit of pity towards him because he eventually joins the blood cult again. She later asks why he saved Ah Sung, and he answers that because he saved him in the previous timeline and treated him right. Woonhwi feels very indebted to him and in return, saves Ah Sung from the blood cult by making him hide under the place where no one even bothers to search. She then reminds him that his previous timeline should have made him know better and encourages him to make full use of his second lifetime chance, something that he shouldn't take for granted. She offers to teach him mastery of martial art, specifically the short sword technique. While at first, he underplayed her offer. She then successfully convinces him to take the offer by activating some kind of magical blue flame on his hand and making him transcend to a realm that opens up his possible new future, an extra effort on her part. Due to giving her extra effort, she decides to take some rest. This makes Woonhwi wonder whether it's related to the Sword Immortal's secret records. The long night passed and Woonhwi finally arrived at one of the blood cult bases, the Six Blood Valley. The sword spirit is done with her sleep and emerges from the sword again. The base is used to kidnap and train kids to be skilled blood cult members. The sword spirit isn't fond of the idea of that. Woonhwi finally gathers with fellow hostages and he finally meets the twins again, who are surprised with the fact that Woonhwi's hands aren't tied like theirs. Commander O then put all the hostages into a test for them to join the blood cult. The first test is to make everyone run towards a platform with other blood cult members who are waiting for the hostages to approach them. Woonhwi, knowing from his previous lifetime, tells the twins to just do what he does to survive and starts running like the wind towards the platform. While initially confused, the twins follow him while they peek at the atrocities behind them, the slaughtering of people who refuse to follow the order. Woonhwi then tells the sword spirit that the blood cult members make them do this to plant the seeds of loyalty and fear for the blood cult. Due to the knowledge that he gathered from his previous lifetime and his elaborate lie about being a descendant of a blood cult member, Woonhwi got the attention of the blood cult members, like knowing to kneel before the upper-ranking members. Woonhwi insists to the sword spirit that he needs to do this to survive the beatings and avoid any suspicions from the blood cult. The high-ranking members then ask the hostages to do their order and slay someone who talks back in retaliation towards them, reminding others that if someone rebels, they will suffer the same fate. The blood cult admission ceremony then starts after that with the second task. One of the high-ranking members, Captain Gu Sangwon, then asks Woonhwi to explain what's inside the box that will be used for the cult admission ceremony to other hostages, due to the words of him knowing the blood cult pretty well. Woonhwi then reveals that the box contains blood parasites. The parasites are dangerous types of parasites that will nest deeply into one's chest and make sure that one will pledge loyalty to the cult by taking the blood cult's exclusive life pill every 24 hours. If one resists taking the pill, the parasites will ravage their chest. Woonhwi's vast knowledge makes the twins surprised and they wonder whether he is a blood cult spy. Captain Gu Sangwon then gets amused with his knowledge and tests him to take the blood parasite to show his loyalty to the blood cult as an honor. Woonhwi, again, has no choice but to consume the parasite, and without some water as well. Commander O, while amused as well, is curious about whether now Woonhwi can take the parasite and see that he is truly a blood cult descendant. Woonhwi finally swallows the parasite and pays respect to the blood cult. Swallowing the parasites usually generates some kind of chest pain, but this time Woonhwi's chest pain is more severe than the one that he had in his previous lifetime. His chest feels burning as well. Woonhwi then silently throws suspicion on Captain O as if he did something to the parasite. He is so visibly in pain that it garners the attention of other blood cult members. Captain O then taunts Woonhwi on how the pain from the blood parasite shouldn't be too painful for someone who claims to be a descendant of their member. Woonhwi regardless can bear the pain easily. After some attention from other blood cult members, Captain O offers to ease Woonhwi's pain by applying his Kai technique on Woonhwi's back. While Woonhwi refuses it, Captain O still insists because the whole ordeal wastes time for people who have to take the blood parasite. The pain suddenly shifts downward to his stomach, and that makes an awkward scene as Woonhwi farts right on Captain O while Captain O is preparing his Kai technique. The scene makes the sword spirit laugh, for sure. The blood parasite's pain is finally gone for a while. One of the twins then confronts Woonhwi and still accuses Woonhwi of espionage for the blood cult. Later, Captain O starts the grade evaluation, unlike the previous lifetime when another captain named Hejom led the evaluation instead. Captain O then explains how the grade evaluation works. Each of the caves has a cult examiner, and a member needs to be evaluated by each one of them. Once the test is over, they'll be given a plaque based on their grade, ranging from basic to advanced rank. This has to be given to the hostage due to the cult heavily emphasizes their strength. Captain O also explains a thin silver lining, that if one shall reach advanced rank like him, they'll have their blood parasite removed. Then, Captain O blows a flute to trigger the blood parasites to ravage their hosts, the hostages. Oddly enough, Woonhwi doesn't feel anything despite hearing the sound of the flute. This whole situation then fuels one of the twins to hurriedly and foolishly try the test, only for him to get on his head smacked by Captain O because of his disobedience. Since Woonhwi made himself known amongst the blood cult members, he gets the honor to be the first one undergoing the evaluation test. He then reluctantly obliges Captain O, though he somewhat still thinks that Captain O might be up to something fishy. Woonhwi soon goes into the cave and then feels emotional because he has to take the test again in this new lifetime. The sword spirit asks about Woonhwi's previous Dantian plaque, only for him to reveal that he only got a basic grade from doing easy miscellaneous tasks, and pretty much a not important role. A man then approaches him, and Woonhwi recognizes him instantly. He is Woonhwi's former superior in the Blood Wolf squad, No Sangu. He looks and sounds younger than he remembers. Sangu then confronts Woonhwi since Woonhwi remains silent. Woonhwi gets cocky and thinks that if he can trick both Captain O and Do Jango, then he surely can trick his former superior. Woonhwi confirms his own identity and still spits out the elaborate lie about how his granddad told him stories about Sangu. Sangu then quickly detects the lie and denies the story, by filling in on how no one on the Blood Wolf squad fits the profile of his granddad. This makes Sangu suspicious of him. Sangu then subdues Woonhwi and intimidates him. Sangu assures Woonhwi that Sangu himself used to train with his dad from the bottom, and yet he never found someone who bears the name of Woonhwi's clan within the squad. The confrontation soon gets heated up into combat between Sangu and Woonhwi, and as it escalates into combat, Woonhwi begs for the sword spirit to stay to help him and think of a better strategy. Woonhwi quickly gets overpowered since Sangu is as ruthless and stern as the other Sangu from Woonhwi's previous timeline. Woonhwi got wounded on the back of his head and he starts to get wobbly. The injury made him feel dizzy and his vision blurry, but with the help of the sword spirit, he can block two intense attacks from Sangu. The blocking sends Woonhwi's sword far from him so that he can't grab it in time. Sangu then again approaches him to interrogate Woonhwi further. Sangu becomes a bit paranoid since the Blood Clan is pretty secretive about their activities and wonders how a seeming good-for-nothing fellow like Woonhwi knows about him and the business of the Blood Clan. Woonhwi sees this as a chance to prolong the discussion that will spare his life and reveals to Sangu that his sister, No Sewa, is still alive somewhere. He fills in some details on how his sister got kidnapped the day when their father got murdered. Sangu denies it by insisting that his sister is indeed already dead. Woonhwi then fills more details in by saying that the corpse that Sangu saw that day was a decoy, and Woonhwi in turn makes a cunning deal with him that he can make a deal to tell him where his sister is if he shuts his mouth on Woonhwi's apparent knowledge on the blood cult. Sangu then puts his sword on the ground and pays attention to Woonhwi, only for him to add that he'll decide after Woonhwi fill in all the details. Woonhwi then tells him that Sangu's sister Sewa is in the Flower Moon Merchant Association, an association owned by the solitary blood saint, Jang Ryong. This gives Sangu a revelation that Jang Ryong was the man behind the assassination of his dad. While he remains calm, Sangu is still in denial about the truth said by Woonhwi, stating that the wounds on his dad were created by an orthodox sect like Woonhwi's family. But Woonhwi then asks him whether he saw the wounds for himself. Adding to his previous fact, he inquires that the one who confirmed the sword wound and recovered his dad's corpse was the leader and merchant of Flower Moon, Ho Wall. Woonhwi then tells him the exact location of his sister, Zhejiang's Jinhai County branch of the Flower Moon Merchant Association. Again, Woonhwi further recommends he send someone he trusts to get in contact. Taken aback, he agrees to shut up and help Woonhwi, only on a condition: what Woonhwi has said has to be true, or Woonhwi will suffer a consequence. While Sangu still has trust issues with Woonhwi, he still accepts the deal to treat Woonhwi as his benefactor. Woonhwi then received a middle-rank plaque from Sangu, given that he successfully blocked two of Sangu's attacks with his magical broken short sword, and professionally, it's not because of the deal. Sangu then states that he can play along with Woonhwi's lie and simultaneously exposes him, saying that Woonhwi never even mentioned his granddad's name in the first place. While Sangu begins to trust Woonhwi, he still feels that Woonhwi is kinda fishy. In his eyes, Woonhwi seems to be more mature than men at his age. The way he blocked his strikes felt even stranger, as he sees it as someone else instructed him to do so. Despite those weird thoughts, he harbors no dislike towards Woonhwi. He brushes the thoughts off and begins to think about whether he has met him on another timeline. Woonhwi finally emerges from the cave and shows his basic plaque, and that astonishes the twins who think that Woonhwi is just a regular, good-for-nothing guy. After everyone underwent the evaluation test, they then progressed to another place. One of the twins still ponders how Woonhwi got the intermediate rank plaque like his, even though his Dantian is presumably broken or even non-existent. He feels annoyed and swears that he will be able to defeat him on the next test. Commander O, too, becomes annoyed as well, though he can't express it directly and just silently tells Woonhwi about it. It's very clear that he's upset because Sangwoo decided to play along with Woonhwi. Woonhwi speaks with the sword spirit and tells her that he wishes to fix his broken Dantian. At first, the sword spirit is doubtful of whether a broken Dantian can be fixed quickly, but then Woonhwi tells her about the all-healing divine physician. The all-healing divine physician is known for being able to cure everything, even some grave illnesses, as long as one pays the price for the process. Rumors say that the all-healing divine physician can fix broken Dantian as well, something that Woonhwi wants to see. While the sword spirit thinks that he needs money for that, or even selling her to pay for the ailment, Woonhwi reveals that the all-healing divine physician only needs some kind of rare herbs as payment, something that he knows well. The whole conversations make him look like a dork to the twins since they can't see the sword spirit. Suddenly, a surprising scene starts. Dead bodies of the blood cult members are scattered everywhere, seemingly beaten solely by someone who possesses vigorous energy. This surprises Commander O since this means someone stronger than him could threaten everyone. The man appears before the hostages and the commander, a huge bearded man with a tiger stripes vest and long disheveled hair. Despite the intimidating look, the man seems to be very eccentric and aims for the hostages that soon become the new Blood Clan members. Commander O soon takes into a defensive position and urges everyone to get behind him. Despite that, the man beats Commander O easily by merely throwing him away like he's in a rock-skipping game, showcasing his prowess. This later scares Woonhwi, because if he could beat the captain with just a strike, means he can beat everyone in the area easily. The twins got surprised by his skill and cluelessly think whether he successfully killed the commander. The man then claps his hand to generate a loud noise. The noise is so loud that it hurts everyone's ears and makes their ears bleed, even the twins and Woonhwi. Due to the scene, the man begins to think that the hostages are weak because the mere sound of his clap could make them squirm and damage them easily. The sound hurts Woonhwi so bad that his eardrums get ruptured and makes him feel dizzy. The whole ordeal makes his chest feels weird, but turns out the weird feeling comes from his chest. Turns out the weird feeling in his chest sends some kind of energy to heal his ruptured eardrums and other wounds. The whole ordeal makes the twins angry. One of them gets into position to strike the intimidating man in case he'll hurt his younger twin. The man smiles and considers the twins to pass the test. Perhaps he sees their sufficient strength. He then takes care of the Song Jaewabik by violently smashing his head on the ground. The intimidating man moves quickly to Woonhwi's side, and all that the sword spirit and Woonhwi can do is run away from him. It's too late for everyone though, as the strong man gets Woonhwi swiftly. Later, some members save Commander O and inform him that most of the recruits are wounded. The news makes him confused. He then explains that some barbarian did all the atrocities and that he got overpowered, something that he feels ashamed about. He explains that the barbarian has scruffy hair and a huge body and wears a tiger stripes vest. Captain Gu then reveals the whole physical profile matches someone from a higher rank. Precisely someone to be feared because this isn't an ordinary high-ranking member. Turns out, it's one of the 4 supremes of the blood cult, Elder He Action, who stays near the 6 Blood Valley. Woonhwi's sword then got confiscated again, but now by Elder Action, who admires the old blade, since it's still solid and shiny despite its old age. Action then expresses how amused and impressed he is with Woonhwi, and that he's the first to wake up from the slumber while not possessing a functioning Dantian. Turns out the 3 have been kidnapped by Elder Action. The news of the kidnapping by Elder Action is finally heard by both Commander O and Gu. They then swiftly go to look for the tree in Elder Action's place. Commander O awkwardly apologizes to Captain Gu, as both start to get unsure about what will happen since Elder Action seldom messes around with the fresh recruits, and is known to be highly eccentric. As always, Commander O doesn't care much about Woonhwi. They then fearfully call for Elder Action, only for him to pop out in a rather sloppy manner after Commander O proposed to go in and check for all of them. Elder Action is amused that both of them came to check for all of them. He then assures the leaders that he will train the 3 kids himself and teach them some good fighting techniques, alongside curing his loneliness. Captain Gu seems to accept the decision. However, the choice water the seeds of jealousy from Commander O. Before he proposes his intention eloquently, Elder Action shuts Commander O up by throwing him from atop the place he lives in. Elder Action then urges the two to go back since he doesn't want to hear anything from them anymore. Like it or hate it, the two must accept Elder Action's decision for the sake of the kids' prowess and training. Elder Action then complains about the leaders being too noisy and nosy as well. Elder Action's power grinds Woonhwi's gears on who trained the twins in his previous lifetime. As he wonders why Elder Action brings him to his place, Elder Action then approaches him just to ask him a favor in a very careless and teasing way. As the previous encounter with the leaders makes him hungry, he urges Woonhwi to find him something to eat, specifically meat, in just 4 hours. He tells him that he needs to do this so he won't run away, while in fact, someone as unskilled as Woonhwi won't be able to escape the place easily. Not having another choice again, Woonhwi decides just to comply so he'll have it easier later. As Woonhwi asks for his short sword back, Elder Action had nastily used the short sword as a toothpick, which predictably annoys and disgusts the sword spirit. Elder Action then gives the twins some violent rude awakening from their sleep and goes out with the twins just to toy them around. Woonhwi then goes out to find Elder Action some food, just to discover that the wind is pretty strong around Elder Action's place and him being unfamiliar with his location. Woonhwi then thinks of how finding Elder Action some food in a location as strange as this would be possible. The sword spirit then points out how far Elder Action's jump is to digest his vigorous power, and Woonhwi's inability to run away from someone as massive and strong as Elder Action. Woonhwi then motivates himself so that he will not be Elder Action's servant for the rest of his training, and begins to move. As he descends from the hill, he loses his grapple on a stone and falls atop a tree branch. While Woonhwi fell from a great distance, he fortunately survives. 4 hours then passes and Woonhwi remains not far from the same place when he fell. Elder Action then suddenly appears near Woonhwi. To his surprise, Elder Action threatens Woonhwi because he has yet to find him some good food. Turns out, the threats are just some kind of tough love and violent gag on Elder Action's behalf. This time, 2 months have passed in the new lifetime, and now we are presented with a more ripped Woonhwi, who by now can hunt and descend from the hill faster than before. With the sword spirit, he goes hunting. He gets a second rabbit for the group's dinner. The sword spirit notices that the whole routine of climbing down, hunting, and getting beaten by Elder Action makes Woonhwi looks different. When Woonhwi is about to find another rabbit for dinner, Elder Action approaches him. Elder Action asks about the dinner, in which Woonhwi presents Elder Action with 2 rabbits that he hunted early on. Unsatisfied with Woonhwi, Elder Action gets annoyed and beats Woonhwi in the process. After that, Elder Action hangs Woonhwi on a tree. Woonhwi gets annoyed as well, since for the past 2 months he feels like he lived like a slave who only caters for the needs of Elder Action and the twins. It gets even funnier with how mundane his tasks are, like the whole finding food and climbing down from the hills, or how Elder Action will still beat him no matter if he found any food for them or not. Turns out, he got tied to a tree because he got fainted after Elder Action beat him. The sword spirit recalls that one horrible first time when Woonhwi got tied into a tree. He puked all over the place and now it doesn't even affect him anymore. One of the twins comes to Woonhwi and nags about how he got beaten because Woonhwi is unable to fulfill a dinner for 4. Woonhwi then explains that they all get beaten by Elder Action regardless of the food availability. One of the twins tells Woonhwi that Elder Action is looking for him and Woonhwi quickly returns. It's pretty unusual for Woonhwi since this time Elder Action asks for his presence 2 hours earlier than usual. After Woonhwi arrived, Elder Action asks Woonhwi to take off his shirt. He complies, although the request confuses Woonhwi as well. Elder Action then cryptically tells Woonhwi that he is ready for something new. Afterwards, Elder Action asks the twins to take Woonhwi's previous duty to find food while simultaneously beating them as well. Like Woonhwi, the twins have changes in their appearance as well, as Jaewabik looks more horrible and Woohyun seems to lose some of his hair. Elder Action then forcefully grabs Woonhwi like a toddler grabbing a toy and goes out with him. Woonhwi asks whether they can just walk instead and Elder Action tells him that he must do it this way because Woonhwi can't use Kingdong, a movement technique that allows one to move swiftly. Elder Action then smashed Woonhwi into a river as a means to clean Woonhwi since the two of them have to meet his new master. Woonhwi gets confused again because there is barely washing or bathing. While this annoys the sword spirit who says that Elder Action smells like a stinky beggar. The two walked behind a waterfall, and this makes both Woonhwi and the sword spirit think that maybe the master is a kind of solitary, but powerful person, someone who could be more eccentric than them as well. They finally arrived and Elder Action forces Woonhwi to pay respect first. After some intense bowing, The sword spirit tells Woonhwi that the master can't accept the respect as he's a dead man's skeleton. This bamboozles Woonhwi and makes him think about whether Elder Action is pranking him again. Elder Action then explains that it's not a prank, but he's merely giving Woonhwi some time for self-reflection. All the menial duties that Elder Action gives him, from climbing down the hill, hunting, and hanging down from a tree to his regular daily beating, have made Woonhwi grow stronger. The duties make his stamina improve as well. Strength and stamina are important to master basic martial art. Woonhwi then apologizes and tells Elder Action that he lost his Dantian when he was younger due to some energy deviation. Elder Action acknowledges that and tells him that he knows how and is ready to train someone without a Dantian. Elder Action then explains the whole convoluted business of energy. In Absolute Sword Sense's universe, there are 3 types of energy: Dantian, the inner energy core, the physical body, and regular energy. If one has an energy core, one can use either the energy circulation technique or the energy cultivation technique. Those techniques will be known as internal energy when it's accumulated within one's Dantian. Since Woonhwi's Dantian is broken, he only has 2 remaining aspects of energy: regular energy and his physical body energy. Due to Woonhwi's limited knowledge, Elder Action has to explain it all over again to Woonhwi. There's another energy called innate core energy. It's something that everyone is born with and it can't be accumulated like other energy. It is also said that innate core energy has twice the power of energy from Dantian. Elder Action and the sword spirit tell Woonhwi that with this innate core energy, he can master martial art without a whole Dantian. There's a script on innate core energy somewhere in the waterfall cave. Woonhwi hesitates, because if he has to use innate core energy, then that means he shortens his lifespan as well, as the only case when a martial artist uses the energy is the time when they commit a suicide mission. The fact that innate core energy can't be restored won't help either. He doesn't want to waste his second chance at life. He decides to lie and refuse Elder Action's offer of further training. Yet another foolish decision that bugs the sword spirit. Elder Action wasn't fooled easily. He quickly detects the lie and brushes it off. Elder Action then chokes Woonhwi and makes his point straight. If Woonhwi refuses the training, he'll be rendered useless by the blood cult. Elder Action lets Woonhwi choose to undergo the training or die slowly in the cave. This instantly gives Woonhwi a dilemma, since he doesn't want to act like Elder Action's servant anymore. Elder Action brushes Woonhwi's death wish off once more because he thinks that is such a ridiculous thing. Woonhwi remains foolhardy by gambling on his life and begs for death since the blood parasite nests on his body. Elder Action thinks that it's another cunning lie spitted by Woonhwi since Elder Cheng detected that Woonhwi is different from other recruits, and he knows damn well about Woonhwi's condition. Turns out Elder Cheng doesn't give a damn about the blood parasite. He wants something related to the martial art mastery on his part and Woonhwi's part as well. Elder Cheng then makes a deal with Woonhwi by saying that he'll play along with the absence of the blood parasite from Woonhwi as long as Woonhwi undergoes the training and faces the twins afterwards. Elder Action then leaves Woonhwi to feel his own innate core energy and train by himself. This makes the sword spirit thinks that Elder Action might have taken a liking to Woonhwi. Woonhwi then looks for details on innate energy core, stating that one might not need a master to train as well. Later, it's revealed that Elder Action is highly impressed by Woonhwi. He thinks that Woonhwi isn't a fool like the others. Elder Action just wants to know about the secret technique that all martial artists dying to know. Woonhwi starts to get fuzzy because the script on the cave is incomplete, prompting him to figure out the technique himself. He thinks that Elder Action knows the complete script, but even Elder Action himself acknowledges his cluelessness on the script. It is also revealed that the sword spirit can converse with another sword. She discovers that the iron sword of the skeleton got angry after Woonhwi insulted the corpse. The sword spirit then asks Woonhwi to try to talk to the iron sword himself. The sword spirit then suggests Woonhwi touch the iron sword to converse with another sword spirit that embodies the sword. Woonhwi needs to do that because the secret martial art manual tends to be cryptic and it's scribed as the language of the swords. He then quickly touches the sword, only to reveal another sword spirit. This one is different from Woonhwi's sword spirit, Sodam. This iron sword spirit is male and rather more flamboyant compared to Sodam, who is sassy. Turns out the spirit has been trapped for a long time and he started to feel lonely and a bit surprised when Woonhwi can connect with him. He introduced himself as the Southern Heaven Iron Sword. It is a name given by the dead master, the skeleton that Woonhwi saw and bowed to. Turns out the skeleton belongs to Ho Jongdi, a famous powerful swordsman who turned Yunnan province upside down with his sheer power and swordsmanship. Rumor has it that Ho Jongdi became the 9th top Central Plains martial master. Not even Elder Action can beat Ho Jongdi. Woonhwi wonders how Ho Jongdi died, but the Iron Sword promises to tell him the full story once he finishes his training. The Iron Sword heard everything that Elder Action and Woonhwi discussed previously, and he offers to teach Woonhwi about innate energy cultivation. The Iron Sword insists Woonhwi master the innate energy cultivation, or Ho Jongdi's name will be tarnished if he fails to do so. The Iron Sword is cunning as well though. Not only he asks Woonhwi to carry him and be the new sword master, but also he perversely asks Woonhwi to touch him as a part of the bargain, only to be beaten by the short sword spirit. After some comedic scenes, Woonhwi agrees to bring him along as long as he stops being perverted. They begin the training soon in the cave. He then explains about the energy. Usually what people call the energy core is the essence below the stomach, but the innate energy core is placed in different areas of the body. One can feel the innate energy on their chest if they are trained enough. Such placement grants the innate energy core's name with the middle energy core. Once one can feel the innate energy, the chest becomes the middle energy core. The one in the middle of the forehead is the upper energy core, the area of mind enlightenment. Woonhwi's task is to feel the innate core energy in his chest. To feel it, Woonhwi must imagine it with his 5 senses, senses that are also known as life energy. Life energy can emerge once someone is in danger and eager to come back to life. Everything begins to make sense for Woonhwi. Elder Action not only trained Woonhwi's physique but also to feel innate core energy with his insane beatings and stupid routines. The Iron Sword senses that Woonhwi might have felt the energy before and recommends Woonhwi remember the feeling again. Woonhwi then remembers the time when Elder Action threatens him in the cave, and the time when he wants to survive the blood cult. This awakens the innate energy core inside Woonhwi and grants him a huge wave of energy. Woonhwi also recalls the same energy when he swallowed the blood parasite, seemingly the same energy that cured his pain caused by the blood parasite. The Iron Sword finds it weird because Ho Jongdi needed months to master the energy. The short sword spirit then explains that it's probably triggered by Woonhwi reincarnating again. The Iron Sword then asks Woonhwi to focus on the core energy, grow it, and use it to punch the stone pillar. Woonhwi punches the stone pillar and effectively breaks it, to everyone's surprise, especially the Iron Sword. It reminds him of someone who went through a life and death situation for 10 years. Woonhwi goes back to Elder Action's place, only to be stopped by the latter. Elder Action threatens Woonhwi, but then Woonhwi cunningly replies that if he doesn't have decent mobility art knowledge, then how on earth he can go back to his place quickly. This results in Woonhwi getting beaten by Elder Action again. Elder Action then checks on Woonhwi's training. Woonhwi foolishly lies again about the training, saying he has yet to feel it. Again, Elder Action didn't fall for Woonhwi's lie easily, and reminds Woonhwi to take the training more seriously, or he'll return him to Commander O since Commander O keeps bugging Elder Action by asking about Woonhwi. Someone is jealous. If Woonhwi goes back to Commander O, his grade will be downgraded to basic level instead of intermediate. This will at least motivate Woonhwi into trying harder. Moreover, Elder Action says that he'll grant one of Woonhwi's wishes if he wins the battle against the twins. Elder Action then gives Woonhwi's compilation of martial arts books to help with his training. Woonhwi's got a light chakram art book, a book that teaches him about balanced energy circulation techniques. If he can master this, then he won't have any problem mastering other martial arts soon. The other book is a book on the luminous star sword technique. Turns out the second book belongs to Ho Jongdi. This confuses Woonhwi, then he asks Elder Action how he got the luminous star sword book. Elder Action just vaguely answers that someone gave it to him. What Elder Action said might be a lie, as the Iron Sword says. Someone else, or even Elder Action himself, might have stolen the book from Ho Jongdi. The Iron Sword fills in with perhaps Elder Action stole the book because he is down bad to beat Ho Jongdi, knowing how strong Ho Jongdi was and how impatient Elder Action is. If Elder Action has the book, it means that he might have learned the technique to complement his knowledge and might have taught the twins about it as well. The fight will not be a fair fight if the twins master the technique since they have more knowledge of martial art. Because Ho Jongdi is already dead, there is no other way to settle the score between Elder Action and him, unless Woonhwi master the technique in either winning or loses it. The short sword spirit suggests Woonhwi use the 8 short sword techniques, but it'll be no use since the technique in the book is specialized for longer swords. The Iron Sword then reveals that there is an improved version used by Ho Jongdi that isn't written in the book. Since Woonhwi still has time to train, he decides to master the improved technique used by Ho Jongdi. Woonhwi finally understands and masters the improved technique. Though, this poses a risk for Woonhwi, like how Elder Action would question Woonhwi because he didn't do exactly as he asked him to. The possible outcome of the situation gives a dilemma for Woonhwi. If he loses the fight, he'll return to Commander O. If he wins the fight, Elder Action might terrorize him. Commander O then presents himself with an advanced level member called Doyan to defeat Woonhwi. If Woonhwi loses against him, Doyan will replace Woonhwi. Woonhwi then meets both Commander O and Doyan. Commander O insults Woonhwi after Woonhwi greeted him. Woonhwi can feel the tension already, sensing that Commander O wants to banish him completely from the earth. He quickly feels suspicious towards Doyan. Commander O then checks Woonhwi's energy, just for him to miss out on the real energy that Woonhwi possesses, the middle core. Commander O deceives Woonhwi that Doyan will serve Elder Action instead of him to bring Woonhwi back to Six Blood Valley for an investigation. Turns out Commander O figured that no one from Woonhwi's clan was a blood cult member. Woonhwi denies the accusation from Commander O and suggests that his granddad would keep it secret towards everyone except his family. Sensing that Woonhwi becomes arrogant towards him, Commander O commands Doyan to beat Woonhwi, just for Woonhwi to easily avoid Doyan's attack and read the patterns. This surprises both Commander O and Woonhwi himself because Doyan seems to be weak somehow. The fight makes Elder Action seriously furious and he appears instantly to stop it. He bashes Doyan's head because he dared to attack Woonhwi. While Commander O tries to explain the whole ordeal, Elder Action attacks him as well, because he dared to make a ruckus towards his superior. This scares the short sword spirit because Elder Action shows his prowess again, but more horrifyingly towards his subordinates. The twins appear while the ruckus is ongoing, just to ask Woonhwi about his training. Both have changed their appearance due to harsh training conditions. They become more muscular and powerful, but one of the twins sadly almost went bald. This makes Woonhwi wonder about their training. The ruckus then surprises the twins, because they're familiar with Commander O as well. Commander O still insists on bringing all of them back, only to get an extra beating from Elder Action until his teeth get broken. This then annoys Elder Action because he talks too much and doesn't have any important business with Elder Action. Moreover, the fact that Commander O brought someone to finish Woonhwi pisses Elder Action even more. Woonhwi tries to explain that he killed two of Commander O's subordinates, just to get his reason brushes off by Elder Action because Elder Action thinks that those two were probably weaklings. Elder Action then asks the twins and Woonhwi to dispose of Commander O and Doyan somewhere. Elder Action also reminds him that since Commander O always targets Woonhwi, the commander will never let Woonhwi off, something that would lead to a battle between them. Woonhwi catches up with the twin to dispose of Commander O and Doyan under the hills after the Iron Sword taught Woonhwi the Kingong technique to descend. Jwabik wishes to finish Commander O and Doyan, but he becomes surprised when he sees Woonhwi raising his sword. After looking back and getting kicked, he then realizes that Commander O is still alive. As Commander O wakes up, Woonhwi prepares himself to face him. Commander O doesn't realize that Woonhwi at least has mastered some technique and can use innate core energy. Woonhwi will use a similar strategy when he knocked two of Commander O's subordinates and strikes Commander O while he lets his guard down. Although Commander O is severely wounded, he still can attack Woonhwi. Commander O then punches Woonhwi, only for the latter to block his attack and strike back with the long iron sword. Woonhwi gets to slash Commander O, but turns out Commander O still can resist the attack a bit. Commander O then stands up and wonders how Woonhwi can launch some powerful strikes despite not having Dantian. Commander O's mastery of martial art makes him able to withstand the attack as well. The Iron Sword then warns Woonhwi of this. Regardless, this doesn't make Commander O more attentive as Woonhwi could steal some moment to launch some sword attack and Commander O underplayed Woonhwi's prowess and ability. Commander O then decides to finish Woonhwi for himself, being able to land some kicks on Woonhwi. The kick doesn't hurt Woonhwi that much since Woonhwi avoided some intense internal injury. Jwabik the blue twin then intercepts the duel, making an opportunity when Commander O holds Jwabik's kick by making another kick. Jwabik showcases his newfound power by knocking Commander O down and the latter that the punch Commander O made is nothing compared to Elder Action's regular beating. Jwabik the blue twin then vows to beat Commander O as a result of his humiliation towards new recruits. When Jwabik is about to punch Commander O, the latter spits his own blood on Jwabik's eyes, blurring Jwabik's sight and hindering Jwabik from attacking him. Commander O then proceeds to punch him. Noticing how stupid Jwabik is, Woonhwi comes swooping and tackling Jwabik so the commander's fist miss his target. Woonhwi then steals the moment to strike Commander O with his long iron sword. Despite the good moment to launch an attack, Commander O still seals it with his hand. This makes Woonhwi resort to using the short sword to attack Commander O, to a similarly minimum avail because Commander O uses his other hand to seal it again. This puts Woonhwi in a checkmate since he is out of moves to end the fight. Jwabik then comes to assist again, asking Woonhwi to let his hand off his short sword. The surprised Woonhwi is confused but complies regardless since they need to end the fight for all. Jae-Wabik then kicks Commander O's hand used to seal the sword, just to make the sword stabs Commander O's face and ultimately kill him in a gruesome way. The fight ends on a bloody note. Things would have turned into something else quickly if it were not for Jae-Wabik that assisted a lot. Jae-Wabik is enraged with Commander O because the latter dares to spit his own blood on Jae-Wabik's face. He tells Woonhwi that Woonhwi owns the twin his life and that Woonhwi has to fight the twins soon. Jae-Wabik cockily tells Woonhwi that the twins will win the fight regardless because they need to win to be Elder Akchung's formal disciples. Jae-Wabik also overheard that Woonhwi previously requested something from Elder Akchung if Woonhwi wins the fight. This makes him tease Woonhwi as if Woonhwi is still a weakling like he used to. Not wanting to lose, Woonhwi makes Jae-Wabik take a bet, requesting that the losers will become the winners' subordinates later in the future. Jae-Wabik accepts the bet and returns to Elder Akchung's place, abandoning the duty to take care of Commander O and Do-yeon's corpses. Woonhwi then checks with the iron sword on the power of the twins, asking whether the twins are weaker than Elder Akchung. The iron sword confirms that, and this calms Woonhwi somehow. Jae-Wabik returns to Elder Akchung's place and reports that Commander O is dealt with. Elder Akchung then asks Jae-Wabik about the details, like where Woonhwi is, and examines Jae-Wabik's injury. Jae-Wabik suffers from internal injury from the fight, which means that Commander O must have struck him pretty hard. Jae-Wabik lies about who killed Commander O, saying that he did it instead of Woonhwi. Unlike Woonhwi's lies, Elder Akchung falls for Jae-Wabik's lies this time, until Woonhwi finally comes back to their place. Woonhwi then tells Elder Akchung the real report, saying that he was the one to deal with Commander O most of the time. This then angers Elder Akchung, who later beats Jae-Wabik and tells him that Elder Akchung will increase their training time. Jae-Wabik still tries to add up his claim, only for Elder Akchung to ignore the claim and beat him. The harsh treatment from Elder Akchung makes the sword spirit thinks that the twins sustain similarly harsh training and condition like Woonhwi. Before Elder Akchung tells Woonhwi to go away for a while, Woonhwi tells him his wish to master the similar Qinggong technique that Elder Akchung uses. Elder Akchung promises to teach Woonhwi that, alongside adding information that Woonhwi's fight against the twins will take place in 3 months and Woonhwi better train harder and be more serious about his progress. When the Iron Sword asks Woonhwi about his feeling after using his luminous star technique for the first time, Woonhwi tells him that he still doesn't believe that he killed Commander O easily. The Iron Sword then adds that it was easy because Captain O got injured in the first place, thanks to Elder Akchung's beating. The Iron Sword then continues to fill up about the technique. It's one of the 18 basic sword movements that Ho Jongdi mastered. If Ho Jongdi was still alive, he would kill Commander O with just a slash from his sword, something to say about his sheer power. With Commander O dead, Woonhwi can at least continue his training without any trouble of someone wanting to take him back and teach him a lesson like some rabid feral dog. Woonhwi realizes that with what Jae-Wabik did in the fight, he won't be an easy opponent. Woonhwi then proceeds to train again, with the sword spirits arguing that he must master the basic movements before he can use more advanced techniques, and that Woonhwi gets too excited because Elder Akchung promises to teach him Qinggong. Despite the Iron Sword's will to teach Woonhwi the luminous star technique, he still feels like Woonhwi isn't an exact replacement for Ho Jongdi. At another training ground, Elder Akchung nags at the twins. Elder Akchung is furious because although he showed the twins the luminous star technique, Jae-Wabik still undermines Woonhwi as a fighter. Elder Akchung then hits Jae-Wabik in his face because he keeps underplaying Woonhwi, saying that Woonhwi is slower compared to Elder Akchung. Elder Akchung explains that Woonhwi only trains with 2 manuals and yet he suffers no internal injuries from the fight, unlike Jae-Wabik. Jae-Wabik then tries to explain the situation only to get bashed by Elder Akchung. Elder Akchung then warns him that Jae-Wabik needs to stop underestimating Woonhwi and not waste any chance given to training. Jae-Wabik is annoyed that the Elder keeps comparing him with Woonhwi, and then becomes motivated and states his motivations. This doesn't seem to work as Elder Akchung beats him and says he wants to see actions from Jae-Wabik instead of mere words. Elder Akchung also reminds him that he has yet to take them officially as his disciples. Captain Gu then appears to look for Commander O, just to be brushed off by Elder Akchung, saying he doesn't know Commander O's whereabouts or who Commander O is. This then prompts everyone within the blood cult to never look for Commander O again. Some time has passed, as it's now winter. Woonhwi trains under a glacier waterfall. Woonhwi looks more focused and stronger than he was. When a glacier fell, Woonhwi effortlessly slashes and destroys the glacier. The iron sword still comments on Woonhwi's technique though, saying that the movement isn't precise enough. While the short sword spirit tries to brush it off, Woonhwi declines, claiming that he needs to be stoic in order to improve his technique. He proceeds to go away from the waterfall to fight. To evaluate his training, Woonhwi asks the Iron Sword to be honest about his progress. The Iron Swords tell him that while it's not enough and Woonhwi is only capable of half what Ho Jongdi did, Woonhwi could do it in only 3 months, a surprisingly short time compared to what Ho Jongdi did. The short sword spirit suddenly becomes jealous because he spends more time training with the long iron sword and doesn't give enough attention to the short sword training. Woonhwi brushes her off and proceeds to ask the Iron Sword about his probability to win the fight. The Iron Sword assures him that as long as he focuses and masters the 3 techniques he often uses, he will have a good chance to win. The Iron Sword also reminds and confides to him that it's better to use those 3 than use all of the techniques that he's not good at. Woonhwi then gets motivated and promises to give the best that he can. Woonhwi finally arrives, and he's earlier than usual. Elder Akchung becomes impressed because he seriously accepted Elder Akchung's battle instead of running away and being a coward. It is then revealed that the twins have a lot of changes in their appearance. Jaewabik the blue twin becomes more ripped and bulkier, while Woohyun the red twin becomes fully bald and more ripped. Woohyun's baldness makes everyone wonder what kind of harsh training he underwent. Elder Akchung then explains to everyone the rules of the fight. To determine the winner of the fight, one is prohibited to give up and is forced to fight until they or the opponent can't fight anymore. Elder Akchung also adds up that this is a one-on-one fight to make the whole thing fair, so he lets Woonhwi choose. Before Woonhwi gets to choose, Jaewabik goes first, who looks extremely enraged and eager to face Woonhwi. Woonhwi not only gets surprised by his appearance but also by the hard and odd fist protectors that Jaewabik use. Turns out, those are metal fists. Jaewabik explains that he needs the metal fists to make it even with Woonhwi because Woonhwi is technically a swordsman. The fists shouldn't be a big deal as well since Jaewabik said that Elder Akchung used them when he was younger and that it's a part of Elder Akchung's unique martial art, the Black Iron Breakthrough Fist. Woonhwi showcases his swordsmanship, swaying his long sword here and there as a means to tell Jaewabik that his skill got better. This slightly annoys Jaewabik since he sees it as a taunt from Woonhwi. Jaewabik then swiftly leaps to Woonhwi and starts the fight. To defend himself from Jaewabik, Woonhwi then unleashes the first sword technique, known as the Forged Sword, dashing his sword against Jaewabik. While the technique impresses Elder Akchung, Jaewabik easily blocks the attack, and this makes Jaewabik getting closer to Woonhwi to strike him anytime soon. As soon as Jaewabik strikes, Woonhwi plays it dirty by kicking him on his chin, halting his movement to grab and smash Woonhwi. Woonhwi needs to retain some distance from Jaewabik, and doing so allows him to aim better to slash and attack quicker. This slightly annoys Jaewabik again, and he calls Woonhwi's swordsmanship cheap because Woonhwi retaliated by kicking Jaewabik's face. Woonhwi then asks Jaewabik whether he took some elixir because he grows stronger. Jaewabik calmly explains that he became stronger because of Elder Akchung's intense training and some pills that he took. Woonhwi realizes that Jaewabik doesn't lie this time, although Woonhwi senses that Jaewabik might hide his fear behind his seemingly calm explanation. He remembers that Jaewabik eventually became one of the strongest and most notorious martial artists in the blood cult in his previous lifetime. Woonhwi also recalls that the blood cult invested heavily in the twins' capability, hence they became magnificent martial artists back then. The whole thoughts and considerations make Woonhwi decide to go all out on his attack and proceed to swiftly strike Jaewabik, to Elder Akchung's surprise. Elder Akchung becomes more serious and attentive to the fight as a result. We then get presented with Jaewabik's flashback. Jaewabik trained so hard with Elder Akchung, who told Jaewabik that he needs to get closer with a swordsman to defeat them with mere fists. What Elder Akchung practiced was too fast for Jaewabik, that he couldn't see it. He promises to train Jaewabik until Jaewabik can see the attack coming. In the present day during the battle, we can see Jaewabik sustain some injuries from Woonhwi's attack on his chest. The attack, Void Flow Slash, was the same level as Elder Akchung's power, but way stronger. Woonhwi then asks whether Jaewabik gives up yet, which Jaewabik denies and takes as a mocking. Jaewabik's training with Elder Akchung motivates him to do better than Woonhwi and to never let his guard down. Elder Akchung finds it amusing how his not formally recognized pupil becomes so enraged. The Iron Sword reveals that Jaewabik has successfully inherited Elder Akchung's martial art, the Black Iron Breakthrough Fist. All that Woonhwi can do to defeat him is to follow the plan he made with the iron sword, to strike when Jaewabik makes an error on his movement, and attack. The fight continues and gets more intense. Jaewabik finally recognizes Woonhwi's techniques, the first being the luminous star sword technique, the Tiger Force sword. Woonhwi manages to slash, but Jaewabik manages to successfully block it and just sustains a little bit of damage, though he still struggles to see Woonhwi's trajectories. Woonhwi runs out of idea to use any other techniques since Jaewabik can just read what type of attack he uses easily. But Woonhwi has a cunning idea. This makes Woonhwi prepare the Tiger Force sword technique, despite the fact that Jaewabik can read his movement as easily as his previous attack. When Jaewabik is about to launch flurry punches, Woonhwi takes his chance to improve his attack by leaping and creating a great distance against Jaewabik. And so, Woonhwi prepares his horse stance, just to be struck by Jaewabik. Woonhwi quickly heals himself with his innate energy and muster his power to launch his new improved counterattack strategy, since the one that's written in the guidebook has been defeated by Jaewabik. After being taunted by Jaewabik, Woonhwi then surprises Jaewabik with a new attack, a modified Star Sword's Void Slash technique that looks like a stabbing with thousands of swords. Woonhwi's attack then gets more intense as he unleashes several more Void Slash techniques, just for Jaewabik to take an opening and punch him. Fortunately, Woonhwi resists the attack, blocks Jaewabik with his innate core energy and balances himself between him and Jaewabik. Woonhwi utilizes Hidden Toad Slash technique, slashing and invading Jaewabik's defense perfectly. While it lands perfectly, the attack hurts Woonhwi's hand as Song Jaewabik then transforms into something more terrifying and powerful. Turns out Jaewabik is using Golden Blood Body, a technique that makes his attack and resistance stronger, but simultaneously hurts him as well. Golden Blood Body technique will boost his strength. With this powerful technique, Jaewabik has no use for the Iron Fists since this technique boosts his power. He takes the Iron Fists off. This means the fight will be more intense and fast-paced due to the increase in Jaewabik's energy. In a rage, Jaewabik keeps aiming for Woonhwi, hastily pounding here and there, so Woonhwi has to avoid his attacks while observing them as well. Woonhwi uses more of his power to no avail since Jaewabik can always resist his strikes with no repercussions. At least Woonhwi can block Jaewabik's raging overhead kick and launch another Hidden Toad Slash later when Jaewabik approaches him. Despite Woonhwi's successful attack, Jaewabik isn't impressed enough and decides to go on a rampage on Woonhwi. Jaewabik tears off the ground to worsen Woonhwi's aim and unleashes some more swift and rigorous punches. While it's intense and dangerous, Woonhwi still manages to block most of them handsomely with his sword. Soon, Woonhwi then notices that the Golden Blood Body hurts Jaewabik a lot. Jaewabik brushes Woonhwi's concern for him and gets offended. The Iron Sword then reveals that Jaewabik's Golden Blood Body differs from Elder Akching's Golden Blood Body. When Elder Akching battled Ho Jongdi, his Golden Blood technique was clean and it cost him almost nothing, while the one that Jaewabik uses is hurting him and makes his skin fall apart. Jaewabik can't handle the technique for longer. If Jaewabik insists on using the technique, he could die. This then confuses Woonhwi on what's the next step he should do. Not only Woonhwi wants to win or end the fight, but he also wants to keep Jaewabik alive as Jaewabik is still his friend, someone he respects, a demonstration of Woonhwi's chivalry. If Woonhwi drags himself out, he might kill Jaewabik. If Woonhwi uses the same techniques, he might lose to Jaewabik. All Woonhwi can do at the moment is to halt all charges aimed at Woonhwi until he finds a good idea to finish the fight. Woonhwi then halts Jaewabik with his innate middle energy. This astonishes everyone, but Iron Sword now understands everything. Turns out Woonhwi is trying to finish the battle by turning it into an energy battle. Woonhwi makes it a clash between Jaewabik's Dantian and Woonhwi's innate energy. At this moment the fight became an energy clash. Woonhwi makes the intensity of his energy match with Jaewabik. The Iron Sword then reveals that with this kind of battle, Woonhwi could die as well since he has yet to master and understand this kind of battle, especially the kind of martial art that Jaewabik uses. While this poses a huge risk for both Woonhwi and Jaewabik, this could grant Woonhwi a great victory as well since Woonhwi remembers to be chivalrous. Woonhwi's strategy angers Jaewabik since he seems to underplay the combat, but deep down Woonhwi knows that Jaewabik is tired and just wants this fight to end. Elder Akching then steps in and separates them. Elder Akching needs to do this to save them all from a deadly fight. If Woonhwi keeps on going with his innate core energy, he'd die. Since no one seems to be winning, Elder Akching considers the match as a draw between them. Elder Akching then brings up the most predictable question to Woonhwi. He confronts and asks why Woonhwi didn't use the techniques as they're shown in the book. Woonhwi then explains that if he had to go by the book, it means his opponent would have known his weakness as well. In reality, Woonhwi knows how the techniques are supposed to be, but he modified it a bit so Elder Akyong will pick him up on the techniques. Woonhwi then confronts Elder Akyong, because the fight feels like a setup match for him to lose and feels like a pawn for Elder Akyong. Woonhwi explains and confronts how he only knows half of the cultivation technique. Jawabik, who inherited most of Elder Akyong's techniques, to Jawabik wearing iron gauntlets. The fight feels unfair to him. The whole situations make Woonhwi feels like he's a pawn. Elder Akyong only laughs at the confrontation and explains his side of things, but before that, he scolds Jawabik first because he initially disallowed the gauntlets usage. Turns out, Elder Akyong just wants to see how well his strategy can fare against Ho Jongdi's previous strategy. Elder Akyong also gives Jawabik pills every night, and Jawabik's pills are just elixirs to help Jawabik maintain his energy and slow his blood circulation. The twins have relatively fast blood circulation, which makes it perfect for something as strong as the golden blood body technique and faster internal energy accumulation. Elder Akyong needs to make the twins' blood circulation slower so he can focus to teach them the mastery of the golden blood body. Elder Akyong also says that if he let their bloodstream as fast as it is, it would be fatal for them to use the golden blood body technique. Elder Akyong tells the details about Woonhwi's sword. Woonhwi's sword is an exquisite artisan sword. While the iron sword is old, it has good cold iron in it, which makes it better than most swords to fight and slash. In the end, Elder Akyong does set the whole fight up, so he can showcase his new strategy with the twin and purposefully gives Woonhwi less time to train. Both Woonhwi and the twins are just pawns to his plan. Woonhwi's cunning strategy makes him dominate the fight, and hence his deal is called off by Elder Akyong. This isn't a bad ending for Woonhwi though, as Elder Akyong accepts him as his disciple. Elder Akyong doesn't want Woonhwi to waste his potential, so he starts to consider Woonhwi as a martial art genius due to his improvisation during the fight. Woonhwi still wonders whether he can learn Elder Akyong's golden blood body technique or not. Elder Akyong says he can't, but at least he can help Woonhwi with sword techniques and even heal Woonhwi's broken Dantian. Woonhwi then pretends to be surprised when Elder Akyong tells him all about Ho Jongdi, since Woonhwi already heard it from the iron sword and that he needs to impress Elder Akyong. Elder Akyong then explains how he knows the technique better than everyone since he was Ho Jongdi's nemesis, and no one else but them knows about the luminous star sword technique. Woonhwi accepts what Elder Akyong offers him. The twins also get accepted as Elder Akyong's disciples since Elder Akyong can't let everyone who learned his techniques go away from him. The twins become Woonhwi's junior though, and this makes Woonhwi owns them quickly. In the end, Elder Akyong won over Ho Jongdi in terms of his strategy, because he made Woonhwi, who is technically Ho Jongdi's predecessor, as his disciple. Elder Akyong is a respectful nemesis though, since he later pays respect to Ho Jongdi's corpse. In a very somber and solemn mood, Elder Akyong asks Ho Jongdi who had killed him. Iron Sword then recalls the supposedly last combat of Ho Jongdi to both Woonhwi and the Sodom Short Sword Spirit. One day, Ho Jongdi received a challenge letter that was different from the usual. The letter gives out the location, time, and a golden flower. Although Ho Jongdi received a lot of challenges, this specific letter made him nervous. The Iron Sword doesn't remember the name of the person who fought with Ho Jongdi, but he recalls the detail. The man had one golden eye and was in his early 20s. The chilling final fight ended within 40 moves, which was pretty intense for a seasoned swordsman like Ho Jongdi, and the opponent. The man must be pretty strong to defeat Ho Jongdi, who is not only the ruler of Yunnan province and the famous Southern Heaven swordsman, but also rivaled the top 8 martial masters in the world. The fight instantly killed Ho Jongdi. While this surprises Sodom the Short Sword, the story makes Woonhwi feel strange. He thinks that if Ho Jongdi is good and seasoned, how can the fight end in 40 moves? He then notices the expression of the Iron Sword and decides to mind his own business. Woonhwi then decides to go to sleep and stops the conversation between him and the sword spirits. Woonhwi doesn't instantly fall asleep as the whole story keeps him awake to think about the details. Woonhwi ponders that the Iron Sword might hide something based on his reaction. The story doesn't explain enough about Ho Jongdi. If it was a battle, then why Ho Jongdi died in a cave? If Ho Jongdi is the ruler of Yunnan province, then why his corpse is in Guangdong province, the place where Woonhwi and others train themselves? Perhaps Ho Jongdi dies of a more tragic death, and perhaps Ho Jongdi dies of a more violent death. If both have equally great ability, then the fight should have ended in less than 40 moves. Someone else could have killed him in the cave. Woonhwi then speculates that maybe Ho Jongdi was alive when he was staying in the cave after the fight. While Ho Jongdi stayed in the cave, someone else came and killed him. It could be the man with the golden eye. Maybe Ho Jongdi didn't find any worthy successor for his luminous star technique. Maybe the murderer destroyed Ho Jongdi's chin so he couldn't talk. He broke his arm so he couldn't write. He broke his leg too so he couldn't run away. Maybe the murderer erased the energy cultivation technique so no one else will master it, instead of Ho Jongdi purposefully not finishing the whole script. This infuriates Woonhwi and makes him take pity on the Iron Sword because the Iron Sword had to witness such a grotesque incident with his very own eyes. Maybe it was horrifying that the Iron Sword refused to tell Woonhwi the whole chronology and truth when they first met. Woonhwi then decides to be careful the next time he wants to bring up the topic. The short sword detects that the Iron Sword might lie to her and asks him. The Iron Sword then brushes it off and understands the whole situation. Woonhwi wakes up to Elder Akchung approaching him. Elder Akchung beats both Woonhwi and the twins and then berates them all for going to sleep too early. Turns out Elder Akchung wants them to drink alongside him, just for all of them to fight for the first cup. The next morning, Woonhwi then continues to train in the cave and stumbles upon Jaewabik. Jaewabik appears with a swollen cheek because Elder Akchung has beaten Jaewabik in his drunken state after Jaewabik laughed at Elder Akchung's story of being rejected by a woman. Elder Akchung remains strong even when he's drunk. Woonhwi then teases Jaewabik because he doesn't address Woonhwi as his superior like what their bet stated. Since Woonhwi technically wins in terms of strategy during the fight, Woonhwi feels like he deserves to be addressed as a senior. Jaewabik reluctantly complies with this and bows before him. Elder Akchung then suddenly appears, and he forcefully grabs Woonhwi with him, bringing him somewhere. Woonhwi complains and begs to use Qinggong too. But Elder Akchung berates him by telling him that Woonhwi's Qinggong is so slow that it'll take a long time with his Qinggong to go to Six Blood Valley. Turns out, Elder Akchung wants the all-healing physician to heal Woonhwi's Dantian, which happens to be broken. While Elder Akchung makes a scene, someone stops them. Turns out, it's one of his cousins, Han Bika, the sixth blood star and a blood hand witch. Hank Bika asks about who Woonhwi is, and Elder Akchung tells her that he is one of Elder Akchung's disciples. After the little chit-chat, Akchung proceeds to look for the physician. The physician then appears and offers Elder Akchung some tea, just to have the tea offer rejected by Elder Akchung. Elder Akchung gets straight to the point on how Woonhwi needs to have his Dantian energy core healed. If the physician accepts the request, Elder Akchung will give him his name tag, which will come in handy. The physician refuses Elder Akchung's name tag. In the moment, Woonhwi peeks at the name tags that the physician owns and sees some notorious names, from the Wudang sect leader, his subordinates, and many more. There are even bigger names like the Central District's most notorious four evils. Elder Akchung seems to be nothing compared to these names since those names are people who supposedly mastered martial arts and reached transcendence. The physician then proceeds to decline Elder Akchung's offer altogether, saying that healing Woonhwi's Dantian core isn't as important as this person he has to heal first. The patient seems to be a very important person with serious conditions. While Woonhwi wonders about the important patient, Elder Akchung then threatens the physician to heal Woonhwi immediately, or Elder Akchung will kill Woonhwi in front of the physician instead. This doesn't shake the physician though, as he doesn't give a damn and tells Elder Akchung he can kill Woonhwi if he wants to. The physician then proceeds to go for this important patient. This annoys Elder Akchung, who then throws Woonhwi away and decides to go after the physician. Han Bika steps in to intercept Elder Akchung. Elder Akhyong was about to get angry until Han Bika speaks telepathically with Elder Akchung and shifts the atmosphere in the room. Woonhwi knows this from the way how Han Bika's neck vibrates unusually. This then makes Elder Akchung changes his mind and asks everyone to wait outside except for Han Bika the blood feud demoness. Regardless, Elder Akchung still threatens Han Bika if she lies to him about some seemingly surprising information that he just got. Han Bika assures him that she's telling him the truth. Woonhwi and the others then go outside to wait. Woonhwi doesn't feel that well because he drank too much the night before and now he ponders about the very important patient. This confuses the Iron Sword too, just to make both Woonhwi and the Short Sword explain to him that Woonhwi reincarnated and sent back to his life 10 years ago. Woonhwi then goes to look for some water and food, only to stumble upon a girl in Six Blood Valley's food storage. The girl seems to binge eat a lot of food. Woonhwi feels embarrassed and proceeds to leave the girl alone to eat. The girl then chases Woonhwi and threatens Woonhwi to not tell everyone that she ate a lot of stuff because she's supposedly on a diet. Woonhwi agrees, although he doesn't seem to care much about it. The girl bribes Woonhwi with 2 coins since she looks so worried that Woonhwi would snitch on her. Elder Akchung then comes with Han Bika and calls Woonhwi just for Elder Action to beat Woonhwi again because he doesn't stay in a spot. Woonhwi then feels some kind of whisper and recognizes that it's the frequency whispering technique. It comes from the girl who binge ate in the food storage. She is trying to talk to him. Woonhwi answers it, and this makes Elder Action and Han Bika think that Woonhwi is close with the girl, while they've just met. Woonhwi stares into Han Bika's eyes just to get lost in some kind of illusion that makes him feel dizzy as well. Elder Action and the girl make him snap out of the illusion. The whole thing activates Woonhwi's core energy somehow. Elder Action calmly scolds Han Bika, only for her to giggle and deny the whole illusion. Han Bika then goes away with the girl. Elder Action then tells Woonhwi that they need to find a special herb called Clear Summer's Recovery Herb, but he also wonders where to find such herb during cold winter. Woonhwi doesn't seem to worry as much as Elder Action since he already knows where the herb is. Somehow again, the girl whom Woonhwi met sends him a telepathic message. She tells Woonhwi that the very important patient is the past patriarch's granddaughter. We then get to see a flashback of how the blood cult emerges today. In the past, the Orthodox sects allied to defeat the blood cult. The single star, which was supposed to be the strongest force of that time, joined in on the political battle. The battle happened because of the sole person, the blood demon. The blood demon then dies in the battle, slain by countless martial art masters. The single star made sure to kill all of the blood demon kin to destroy the blood cult, until now when Woonhwi discovers that one of his descendants is still alive. Woonhwi wants to take a chance on helping whoever wants to be the next successor of the blood cult so he doesn't have to live like he is now and be stronger. This encourages Woonhwi to look for the herb that he needs to heal his Dantian. But first, he needs to wait until dusk comes since it will be less crowded. Woonhwi then hurriedly used Kinggong to look for the herb. Woonhwi is so busy with his plan that he didn't realize that someone is catching up on him from his back. Turns out it's the girl that he encountered at the food storage. Woonhwi tries to stop her by throwing her a bunch of snow, to no avail because she is stronger than he initially thought. She leaps above Woonhwi to launch a slashing technique, only to be blocked by Woonhwi's sword. While Woonhwi is processing the situation, she takes a chance to attack Woonhwi, just for him to deflect her attack with his sword technique. They decide to tone it down and clear the situation. She then introduces herself as a girl named Hyeon, a pupil of Han Bika. Hyeon wants to go with Woonhwi and promises to get him some of the famous tablets from the all-healing physician. This makes Woonhwi analyze Hyeon. Woonhwi thinks that Hyeon is impatient and can't negotiate as eloquent as a saleswoman since all her deals seem to be pretty haphazard. Woonhwi takes advantage of this by asking Hyeon a favor. Woonhwi wants Hyeon to teach him her technique, the gliding technique. Hyeon finds it rude of Woonhwi to ask for this, but she complies regardless as a part of their deal. Only if Woonhwi used the technique when he truly wants to kill someone. The two then go together to find the herb as Hyeon converses some stuff with Woonhwi and reveals that the other 6 Blood Valley members were searching for the herb for 6 hours that day. Hyeon then tells Woonhwi that she feels that Woonhwi knows where that herb is. They finally find the herb, only to be subdued by other blood cult members who seem to be stronger than them. Turns out the members have been following Woonhwi and Hyeon. They then steal the herb from Hyeon and take both Woonhwi and Hyeon down. This angers Hyeon and she decides to pursue the members who stole the herb and leaves Woonhwi alone. Little did she know that Woonhwi doesn't mind if the members steal the herb and he only wants her to heal him. Woonhwi's innate energy then quickly heals him. Woonhwi hides the fact that the herb isn't fully ripe yet. The stolen herb has 5 yellowish marbles, and that indicates that the herb isn't mature enough. Mature herb supposedly has green marbles, and the mature herb has a better effect on healing his Dantian. The place where he and Hyeon found the herb is full of unripe herbs. Woonhwi then decides to go to the place with tons of ripe herbs, the back of a waterfall nearby. It's revealed that Woonhwi let the ambush happen so the members won't be able to take the ripe herbs. Woonhwi then finds better herbs with even more glowing green marbles. He then gathers the herbs while the short sword spirit examines the cave. She found a broken sword nearby and communicates with the sword. The broken sword warns the short sword spirit to get out of the cave because the danger is lurking silently near them. As the short sword tells Woonhwi to run, a devilish serpent-like creature appears before them. This surprises both Woonhwi and the short sword. Woonhwi tries to get out as fast as he can just to be subdued and wounded by the devilish serpent-like creature. Because the creature keeps targeting Woonhwi, he then decides to face the creature instead. Woonhwi dodges and tries to attack the creature without any knowledge about how to take the creature down. He uses the hidden toad slash and tiger force sword to kill the creature. The ugly creature is finally dead, but it successfully poisons Woonhwi with its venom. Woonhwi struggles to stay still and hold on until he takes and consumes the herb that he took. The herb seems to help him a bit and calm him down. Woonhwi then decides to meditate to make him feel better and stabilize his mind. This then unlocks more dots on his hands. The near-death experience opens a new portal to Woonhwi. This then opens one of his skill stars. The experience makes Woonhwi loses his focus on the meditation and messes up with the two energies that fight within his body. Woonhwi hears a voice commanding him to keep circulating his innate core energy and not to be swept away by the fighting two energies. Woonhwi must guide the energy to go with the flow. To assist him in controlling the energy, the voice asks him to think of the innate energy as a calm lake that will not be disturbed by thunderstorms and guide the raging energies into the lake. With guidance, Woonhwi can finally calm the fighting energies down. Woonhwi initially thought the guiding voice was the Iron Sword's voice, but the Iron Sword is far from him and the guiding voice belongs to someone else. Woonhwi just thinks of it as the Iron Sword's voice. Woonhwi then looks at the devilish serpent-like creature and wonders what it is. The Iron Sword doubts that the creature would be mystical since it doesn't vomit out any healing elixir. Woonhwi then gets out of the cave as fast as possible. Woonhwi's Qigong improves fast since he can leave the cave by just leaping once. The Iron Sword notices the improvement and asks Woonhwi to scan his energy. Turns out, Woonhwi's innate core energy has expanded twice in size. The Iron Sword then explains that the expansion was caused by the previous moment when he had to cure the venom from the creature. The short sword jokingly suggests he ingests the herb again to expand his innate core energy in 60 years, which both Woonhwi and the Iron Sword brush off the joke. The members who stole the herb run away from Hyun and think lowly about Hyun. They think that a buxom girl like Hyun won't be able to catch them up swiftly. This is proven wrong as Hyun appears behind them and gives them some surprises. Hyun proceeds to angrily slash some members to death. Hyun isn't alone as Hanbika suddenly appears to slash the remaining members to death as well. Hanbika asks Hyun why she left late at night only to find that Hyun brought Hanbika the herb and had the members ambush her for it. Hanbika asks Hyun to return, but Hyun refuses and gives her a cryptic answer. Hyun wants to see and check out Woonhwi. Woonhwi steps out from the cliff with his new power and is approached by Hyun, who seems to be concerned about him. She stubbornly runs to approach him so no one else can detect her Dantian. Hyun then apologizes for not healing Woonhwi when the members took him down by his pressure points. Woonhwi's injuries make Hyun panic, but Woonhwi assures her that he is just fine. Hyun then reveals that Hanbika helped her to stop the members who stole the herb. She promises Woonhwi that she'll give him the tablet later. Woonhwi still doesn't believe her, and this led to a bigger situation at the base. Turns out Hanbika asks for Elder Akchung's help as well for an important matter. Hanbika presses Elder Akchung to make up his mind on an important decision. Perhaps she's pressuring him into giving up Woonhwi. Both Woonhwi and Hyun return from their journey of finding the healing herb. The physician then tells Hanbika that her herb isn't fully mature yet, since it only has 5 yellow marbles. Elder Akchung then makes fun of the situation since no one seems to find the right type of herb until Woonhwi reveals the fully matured herb that he found in the cave. This makes Hyun surprised as she glares and whispers to Woonhwi. Woonhwi asks Elder Akchung about the tablet, only for Elder Akchung to tease Hanbika. Woonhwi then considers the bet has been settled. Turns out, Woonhwi made another bet with Hyun. Hyun was surprised that Woonhwi doesn't fully trust everyone in the bet, and that Woonhwi wasn't satisfied with just a Qigong lesson from Hyun. Woonhwi then suggested that Hyun might want to ask Elder Akchung instead of Hanbika for the tablet. Woonhwi then pretended that he didn't find the herb and told Hyun that he wants the tablet of this important person within the blood cult that Hyun knows. Hyun accepted the deal and it sealed everything. Hanbika cuts her fingers in front of everyone because she can't keep her promise, did something poorly, and lose the bet with Elder Akchung. It is revealed that Hanbika is on a mission to escort an important person. The physician feels repulsed by the whole scene but continues his duty regardless. Hanbika vows to never bother Woonhwi again and gives her tablet to Woonhwi. The physician then complies with Elder Akchung's request. He will heal Woonhwi's Dantian tomorrow afternoon. The physician then checks on Woonhwi's condition. The next day, both Woonhwi and the short sword can't stop thinking about Hyun. Hyun had some sort of glaring expression that changes everything. Hanbika also changed her reaction after seeing Hyun's expression. Hyun looked like she was observing everything, but in a very mysterious way that high-ranking blood cult demoness could do. The whole situation makes Woonhwi thinks whether Hyun is one of the higher-ranking members, although she stated that she's Hanabeka's disciple. Woonhwi even wonders whether Hyun perhaps is one of the granddaughters of the blood cult leader. The theory becomes more plausible since Hyun is on some kind of diet, and might eat a lot that day as a means to recover from her diet. The mysterious high-ranking figure that Woonhwi sees that day might be a decoy that covered her so that Hyun can eat a lot. Woonhwi comes to 6 Hidden Blood Valley to a scene where people gather for something. The short sword and Woonhwi hear too many voices from the swords. Most of them are eager to kill or defeat someone. One sword says that they want to die, and it appears that the sword belongs to the mysterious red-haired woman whom Woonhwi approaches. While Woonhwi answers the woman, she thinks that Woonhwi is too slow and proceeds to attack him. Woonhwi resists and blocks her attack, which surprised everyone, even the woman and Woonhwi himself. While Woonhwi confidently succeeds in blocking the slash, he feels some pain inside him. The attack feels pretty strong. The blockage impresses the woman though, because Woonhwi reveals that he's only a trainee. Soon, the sword of the woman takes an interest in Woonhwi. Before the red-haired woman makes another attack on Woonhwi, Hyeon stops them. Hyeon then tells her that Woonhwi is a disciple of Elder Axahong. This gives relief to Woonhwi as the red-haired woman won't proceed to kill him. At the same time, Woonhwi feels a weird feeling from her as well. The red-haired woman then tells Woonhwi that the whole scene surprises her because Woonhwi is the first person around her age who successfully blocked her attack. From the way the red-haired woman speaks, Woonhwi speculates that she's someone of a higher position. Hyeon approaches the red-haired woman and tells her that Hyeon can't accompany her. The red-haired woman then asks Hyeon to tone her words down, as Hyeon doesn't want to be seen as the leader of the cult. Amidst the intense conversation, the physician appears and greets Woonhwi. Soon after, the red-haired woman leaves, asks Woonhwi to send her regards to Elder Axahong, and offers him an invitation to combat again in the future. Woonhwi notices that the red-haired woman's sword is suffering from something unbeknownst to everyone. As Woonhwi asks Hyeon about the red-haired woman, Hyeon changes the topic, signifying that she doesn't want to talk about it with everyone. Woonhwi then undergoes another check with the physician. The physician then tells Woonhwi that he has accumulated more cold energy than most people. This makes the physician detect the presence of the herb Woonhwi previously ingested. The sword spirits assure him that the physician is someone to trust since everyone wants his service to heal them and he keeps the secrecy of everyone's problem. Woonhwi then tells the physician the truth. Woonhwi ate up the herb because he thought that it'll heal the venom he got from the devilish snake-like creature. Woonhwi also proceeds to tell the physician about the creature. It has 4 purple eyes and a humanoid face. The physician then tells him that it's a rare creature called a human-faced purple-eyed viper. The viper lurks in the dark and devours people when it got the chance. The viper is also considered more of a demon than a monster. The viper will only come out to attack when someone brings any source of light. Probably someone before Woonhwi triggered the viper with a torch and got swallowed by the viper. Turns out the herb doesn't even have any purification energy, which means Woonhwi healed himself with his energies. Woonhwi is also completely free from the venom now. His meditation worked. Woonhwi then asks about how having both hot and cold energy will be okay. The physician then inquires that having both energies is normal. It becomes abnormal once an imbalance happens. Balancing it is almost as good as drinking a good elixir. The physician then tells Woonhwi that by balancing Woonhwi's energy, and then Woonhwi can accumulate his energy quicker. The physician then gives him the tablet to Woonhwi's surprise. Woonhwi has yet to undergo some serious healing process. Turns out that Woonhwi's energy core is just fine and the physician doesn't need to heal it. The physician suggests that Woonhwi's energy core healed itself. The sword spirits are amazed by Woonhwi's recovery capability. The iron sword adds that Ho Jongdi was able to master the innate core energy right after he destroyed his Dantian, the same as Woonhwi at the beginning. Woonhwi then arrives at Elder Axahong's place, only to find that the surrounding atmosphere has changed. It appears that Elder Axahong is seriously pondering something related to Hyeon and the red-haired woman. Elder Axahong also talks to himself in that regard. Elder Axahong then tells Woonhwi a story when the cult leader was known more for his unorthodox sects instead of being a leader of the blood cult himself. With the guy, Elder Axahong became ambitious about uniting the whole Jonghu until he was defeated by numerous martial art masters. Elder Axahong then asks Woonhwi about Woonhwi's opinion that might be related to Hyeon and the red-haired woman. Woonhwi suggests he feed any potential to make it grow stronger. This gives Elder Axahong an epiphany to build an army and make Woonhwi a captain in 6 months to be stronger than ever. Turns out Elder Axahong wants to grow forces for himself, and this will change his destiny forever. In the previous timeline, after the blood cult started to move again, Elder Axahong made his own decision that differs from the rest of the blood cult elders. He fought with Jin Kaiyu the Heat Tyrant King, one of the strongest martial art masters in the Central District. The fight resulted in Elder Axahong losing his right arm due to the tenacity of the battle. The fight happened 6 years from Woonhwi's timeline now, and the destiny would change if Elder Axahong do something from now on and give it all to his new strategy. Everything changed a lot in Woonhwi's new timeline. Woonhwi used to be a low-ranking trainee and member of the blood cult. Now he is the disciple of Elder Action and has power akin to intermediate to advanced level member. Woonhwi got to bond with one of the possible cult leader's granddaughters as well. Almost every step he takes will change the course for the future. While Woonhwi has a lot of opportunities, he must seize his fate by becoming a captain as well to improve his prowess and strength. Both innate core energy can't be used with his Dantian as well, and the fact that his clan has poor technique doesn't help much either. The sword spirits can't help Woonhwi with a better technique to balance them, as Ho Jongdi destroyed his Dantian before he was able to cultivate innate core energy. This gives Woonhwi a brilliant idea and sends him to the twins. Woonhwi asks the twins to teach him the golden blood body technique, but the twins refuse, partly to how Elder Action will disagree to have someone else learn about his unique signature martial art technique. Woonhwi then cunningly offer to treat them as equals if they disobey Elder Action to teach him the technique. While Jaewabik is initially bamboozled by Woonhwi and refuses, he then reluctantly agrees. Turns out while the technique balances Woonhwi's energy, the technique doesn't suit him since his physique isn't good enough and his blood circulation won't be able to withstand it. Woonhwi senses the presence of someone just to see someone sent by Han Bika behind him. She tells Woonhwi that Han Bika is looking for him. Woonhwi then receives a very important tablet from Han Bika. Woonhwi looks for Hyeon and finds out that she isn't there. While previously Han Bika cut off 2 of her fingers, she reattached them again, to Woonhwi's surprise. Perhaps the physician offered her to reattach it. Han Bika then proceeds to scan Woonhwi's energy with her special technique and discovers that Woonhwi didn't use as much core energy as they thought. Han Bika then gives Woonhwi some herbs as a gift from Hyeon. Before Woonhwi leaves though, Han Bika offers him another bet that he can't refuse. Woonhwi wants to withdraw from the bet that she offers because the bet is too unpredictable for him. But Han Bika made it so tempting that Woonhwi can't refuse it. It's a bet to see whether Woonhwi can advance faster than Damyewa, who is trained by Han Bika to advance on her martial art technique. Woonhwi doesn't remember the girl, much to Damyewa's dismay. If Woonhwi wins the bet, Han Bika will teach him her special technique and negotiate it with Elder Action. In Woonhwi's previous lifetime, Damyewa became pretty advanced and the talk among everyone after Han Bika took Damyewa under her wing. Although initially, it gives him a dilemma due to possible misunderstanding in the future, and how convoluted the bet is, Woonhwi accepts the bet, much to Damyewa's dismay again since Woonhwi is Elder Action's disciple. Damyewa feels pressured, but she accepts it regardless since she wants to master the techniques given by Han Bika. 6 months have passed and the blood cult trainee cadet promotion test begins. We then get to see the process of how the test works. All trainee cadets have to exercise the blood demon fist technique, the basic signature combat technique of the blood cult. Then they'll try the 6-men formation, progress to 12-men formation, and 36-men formation. If they all pass all of them, they'll receive the title of a basic blood cult warrior. If they've proven themselves as someone skilled enough, they'll take the intermediate warrior test as well. Intermediate warriors are 1 tier higher than basic warriors. They are expected to use internal energy and must undergo a test related to internal energy. It is said that they'll need 10 years to accumulate internal energy before their energy can be acknowledged. The easiest way to check that is to bypass the stone test. One must use their internal energy to leave a mark on the world stone, a big round stone owned by the blood cult. Other than that, they have to proceed to another test stage in which they must have a duel with an intermediate warrior. They'll pass once they last for more than 30 moves in the duel. This way, the blood cult can cultivate its power better. We see a scene of a blood cult member having a duel and losing. The man begs for a second chance from Captain Gu. But Captain Gu sternly refuses his plea, although Captain Gu pities and sympathizes with him. Woonhwi, the twins, and Elder Action suddenly appear at the gate when the advanced rank test is about to start, much to everyone's surprise and confusion, especially Captain Gu. Captain Gu is scared of Elder Action and assures Elder Action that the 3 will just pass the test easily. Elder Action doesn't want him to beat around the bush and urges Captain Gu to say what he wants directly. Woonhwi detects that almost everyone is on a basic level, thus it would feel unfair if Captain Gu give the 3 their pass without showcasing their skills. Captain Gu reveals that other members are supervising the tests, hence the 3 still need to undergo the tests. Han Bika then appears and asks Elder Action to comply with the rules. Han Bika comes with Damyewa to test Damyewa's training progress. Turns out Han Bika also wants to enroll Damyewa on the advanced warrior test. Captain Gu then suggests Woonhwi, the twins, and Damyewa take the stone test. Han Bika warns Damyewa to do her best and urges her to go first in line for the stone test. Damyewa appears to be more confident and assured than the last time Woonhwi saw her. Damyewa successfully leaves her marks on the stone easily, which renders her a pass for the next test. Damyewa taunts Woonhwi to no avail, since he doesn't seem to care much and is too puzzled to decide which energy he should use on this test. Woonhwi regardless realizes that he must do better than Damyewa. Woonhwi then gets his turn. While Woonhwi successfully leaves a mark on the stone, his hand got stuck. Woonhwi overestimated the amount of energy he should use for this test. Jwabik then gets his turn and he dramatically uses the golden blood body technique and he almost breaks the stone. Jwabik tells Woonhwi that he still takes it easy since he's afraid to destroy the stone. Woohyun the bald twin even breaks the stone in half with his bald head, to pretty much everyone's surprise. This becomes an amusement to Elder Akchung since he's happy that he trained them pretty well. Of course, the three passed. Woonhwi then reveals that they came here for something more than an advanced warrior test. They want to be the blood cult captains. Elder Akchung asks Woonhwi to observe the combat test first so he can understand how the test works. Elder Akchung then teases Woonhwi for making a bet with Han Bika, although Woonhwi has told Elder Akchung all about the bet. The swords sense that Han Bika did this to get an advantage from the bet. Although unbeknownst to her, Elder Akchung had trained Woonhwi and the twins hard for the past 6 months. In the next panel, we see how someone can be a captain in the blood cult. There are 3 ways to be a blood cult captain. First, one can accumulate their achievements, work their way up from to vice captain, and then captain. Second, they can accomplish an achievement so extraordinary and magnificent that one can be granted a promotion to a captain. The last one is the fighting test. Unlike the regular advanced warrior test, to be captain, one must face 2 advanced warriors with a real weapon, and one must defeat them in 100 moves. It is way tougher than a regular advanced warrior test. Woonhwi feels the whispers from 2 advanced rank warriors and Captain Gu. Captain Gu is envious of Woonhwi's ability and privilege to train under Elder Akchung, while the other 2 advanced level warriors, Di-young and Ho Yoon, somehow admire Woonhwi while being worried and hostile as well. The fight test for Woonhwi then starts. The 2 attack Woonhwi swiftly while Woonhwi easily avoids them and launches another counterattack. Woonhwi dominates the fight without any extra effort, and the 2 don't seem to be surprised by this since Woonhwi is capable of countering them. Woonhwi doesn't seem to care much since he already trained a lot and read the flow of the fight with no pressure. Although the 2 change their strategy, Woonhwi utilizes new sword techniques. Woonhwi manages to stab Ho Yoon with his short sword and that seals a quick victory for Woonhwi. The expected win is surprising for everyone since Woonhwi isn't that well known, especially Captain Gu and Han Bika. The victory pressurizes Han Bika since turns out Elder Akchung pushes Woonhwi to the maximum and made him stronger than she initially thought. Han Bika even has no idea why Woonhwi masters swordsmanship easily despite how Elder Akchung doesn't specialize in sword fight or swordsmanship. Woonhwi reminds Elder Akchung of Ho Jongdi since he did pretty well in the fight. Woonhwi's victory encourages Damyewa to take the captain test as well, despite how hesitant Han Bika appears to be. This doesn't end well though, since Damyewa loses around 50 moves. Now it's Jwabik's turn for the captain test. The fight between Woonhwi against Di-young and Ho Yoon has made more advanced level warriors more vigilant and hostile. This makes Jwabik feels pressured to end the fight quickly as Woonhwi could do it previously. This also makes Jwabik unable to unleash his power properly. This fight impressed Han Bika as well. Han Bika then approaches Elder Akchung and asks him about Woonhwi's sword techniques. This makes Elder Akchung feels cocky. He then proceeds to explain the truth and the technique to everyone. The techniques belong to Ho Jongdi, the original Southern Heaven swordsman, and Elder Akchung's arch rival. While Ho Jongdi is dead, Elder Akchung keeps his notebook for the sword techniques and claims that Elder Akchung knows better than everyone else about the techniques. This initially makes everyone think that Elder Akchung kills Ho Jongdi except Woonhwi, but he denies the accusation while continues boasting about how he improved Ho Jongdi's techniques and claims that he got the manual book from someone else. Elder Akchung also claims that he perfected Woonhwi's swordsmanship skills and has made Woonhwi both his successor and Ho Jongdi's successor. Of course, this makes Woonhwi overwhelmed by Elder Akchung's shrewdness and cockiness. This makes the Iron Sword feels better since at least Elder Akchung admits that Woonhwi is Ho Jongdi's successor. Jwabik finishes the test with minimum damage. He passes the test. Instead of being prideful, Elder Akchung scolds Jwabik. This makes Jwabik slightly envious of Woonhwi. Woohyun comes forward for the fight test, and Elder Akchung gives him a bit of a pep talk and threatens him to starve later to make Woohyun more energetic. This succeeds and in turn, Woohyun can beat one advanced level warrior with only a butt head. The other warrior quickly surrenders due to how painful and horrifying the headbutt seems to be. Maybe his bald head is his new source of power. Woohyang wins just like that and instantly passes the test. This then amuses Elder Action, because all of his disciples passed.